Hey Sarah, let's take a look at your week one assignment two. One thing could you try to do is just get these in a little bit bigger. The problem for me is that, sorry, just trying to get this in here. The problem for me is that they're a little bit small, so seeing some of the technique, especially with the colored pencil, is difficult because they're zoomed out so far. If you're gonna double up, which I wholly appreciate, you can make the size of these larger. So you have this at 800 by 200. I'd almost ask that you go make the smaller height the 600, and then that way we would get a much kind of bigger kind of viewing of the work. But I really appreciate that you're getting them in both in the same file, and that's definitely something that it ends up being a real time saver for me. But you can make them a little bit bigger than what the specs ask if you're gonna double up or quadruple up, which you might be doing for the next assignment. Okay, so marker wise these look good. They look like they're off to a good start. I think the blind especially is off to a good start. You've done a nice job cutting your edges top and bottom, and the stroke is nice and consistent, and it almost feels like it gets even more consistent on the next one. So if this is the first one, I can see a progression going from this one to this one. If this isn't the first one, I don't know, it's a weird kind of occurrence, but you're doing a great job in a lot of key areas. One is just following the technique with the blind, but two is also the edge quality on both of these is very good. You're not straying too far from the drawing that you have underneath, which is really good. There's a little bit less of that occurring in the marker and colored pencil ones, but they both show some nice use of color, some great overlaying, and good kind of variation and things. I think the side to side, I think you need to go in and saturate a little bit more. One main thing is we shouldn't see any kind of value changes occurring, where here we have kind of a very dark line, a lighter value of the gray and a darker value of the gray. We shouldn't be seeing that. It should be a lot more consistent as we work our way through the swatch. So there shouldn't be kind of darker and lighter distinctions around the edges either. One way you can help to avoid this is cutting your edges a couple of times or even 3 times, and that'll get the edges to be a little bit darker so that it'll match the center when you go in. But ultimately what's going to be foolproof is just trying to go in with the side to side as close to the edges as you can, and not relying on the cut completely to do everything, because you'll get what happens here, which is a light outside and a dark center. But even the center, I think, could use more saturation, and it is a tedious process, especially if you have a very large area where you're going to be doing the side to side. You have to have a lot of time and patience, because you're just kind of going in over and over and just keep putting in marker into that page until the page can't take any more marker. So we should be seeing a couple of distinctions between the side to side and the we should be seeing more distinction between the side to side and the blind. The side to side should be noticeably darker in value overall, because you're laying so much marker in on top of marker on top of marker and saturating that paper. It tends to be much more dense and a lot richer in color, but also a lot darker. So I'm not seeing that occurring here, which tells me you need to lay in more, and we should again see a little bit more consistency than we do with the blind in terms of how it covers things. So just a couple of things to keep an eye on. They're definitely not kind of worrisome occurrences right now, but they're just something that you'll want to work at and see if you can minimize as you work your way through the assignments of the first week. But I think this is a good start. You've got a good understanding of the technique, and it looks like you're just starting to get used to the markers. So I think you're fine, and would just say to keep it up.